Welcome, scholars. This lesson is going to be lesson 3-1.0, a little background on ancient China before we get into medieval China. But it's going to be something that's really interesting in setting the background for how these Chinese dynasties work. And therefore, it should be important for us to know and a little bit exciting for us to get into. So, ancient China. Well, China is what is known as one of the cradles of civilization. Civilization has arisen independently and without outside influence in just a few regions of the world. You learned about this in Egypt, and this happened in India, and this happens in China as well. So they are going to develop completely independent of outside influence from other civilizations. Now, the first of these Chinese civilizations is the Xia dynasty. That arises around 2100 BC. So we're talking a long, long time ago, over 4,000 years of Chinese history here. And this dynasty is going to be the first that really begins dynastic rule within China, that is, rule by a ruling family. Now, the early dynasties of the Xia and Shang ruled China over a period of about 1100 years, so going from 2100 BC to 1000 BC. The Shang dynasty arises a little bit after the Xia, and they both kind of exist at the same time in very close proximity to each other for a while until the Shang dynasty just is it's able to overwhelm the Xia and take them over. And both of these dynasties, they rule in a very similar way. They're going to centralize power around that single emperor, and they're going to develop this idea of a mandate from heaven. Now, this idea is kind of a loose idea early on. It's going to be emphasized actually by the next dynasty, because they are going to emphasize the fact that if there is a mandate from heaven to rule, then these dynasties, this Shang dynasty, is losing that mandate. They're losing the mandate because they're not treating the people well. Now, this is the Zhou Dynasty. The Zhou dynasties are going to use the mandate from heaven to justify their rebellion. They say if the Shang continue to have this mandate, well, we're going to lose this war. But the Zhou, do not lose the war. Instead, they win, and they're going to be the rulers of China for 800 years. This sets up the longest dynasty in Chinese history. However, we'll see in a moment, the Zhou, who control a good-sized nation here. If we look at the borders, we can see modern-day China, and this is Mongolia up here. The Zhou control a sizable portion of land. However, they don't have complete control for that full 800 years. Because as the Zhou dynasty declines, regional governors and military leaders are going to establish independent states. So really beginning about halfway through, or a little more than halfway through, the Zhou dynasty, the Zhou are losing all meaningful power. They actually, the one province here that is not labeled or named, but this is where the Zhou are. This is all they have left by 260 BC during this warring state periods. The Han and the Qin, the Chu, and the Zhou, not the Zhou, different, are establishing their own centers of power. And each of these states is going to fight over this 200 plus year period of time for control of China. Now, it will wind up being the Qin who succeed. In 221 BC, China is reunited under the Qin dynasty. Now, the Qin are, or sometimes pronounced more correctly, the Qin. The Qin were brutal rulers. They violently suppress all opposition. Those who speak against them or act against them are gathered up and are executed. And it will be because of this brutality that the Qin are overthrown after only about 15 years. They're not going to be a long-lasting dynasty, but they are essential for us to understand this story of China because they're the ones that are going to restore the unity of China. And only a couple of occasions going forward will this unity once again be broken up. But the heart of today's lesson was, of course, understanding that we have dynastic rule established on the basis of this mandate from heaven. When the mandate is lost, the dynasties collapse and are eventually replaced. And the Qin themselves are only going to hold this mandate for a short period of time, and then they will actually be taken over by the Han, who are going to arise and overthrow what the Qin have just captured. So the next dynasty in this succession will be the Han. We'll talk about them another time. I hope you found this quick dip into ancient Chinese history helpful. Remember dynastic rule and mandates from heaven, and you should be okay.